Welcome to The Stack, where we're having conversations with the people building systems shaping Africa's digital future. Today, we have with us Brian and Felix, two of our engineers from DataWise Africa, and we'll be talking about what it's like building the systems that help society function, what's new and emerging in African markets, and is AI really worth the hype? So, I'll start with Brian. Can you tell us a bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis?
All right. Thank you very much, Wauda. And I'm happy to talk about this conversation. So what I do on day-to-day basis, it's basically about engineering, building systems that I think help shape Africa, help us, be where we want to be. Yep.
Okay, so in terms of engineering, what kind of engineering do you do?
Okay, yeah, so engineering, okay, that's really broad topic, but mostly into AI engineering, and I'm also into software engineering. So software engineering is just about building the software, and AI engineering is about, embedding AI into the software, so the software becomes smarter than the traditional software that, we've all known for a long time. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to get back to that because we need to talk more about what AI looks like in today's market. Brian, tell us a bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis. No, sorry, Felix.
Okay, thank you for having me here today to talk about my role in the tech space and as part of DataWise. So I think software is one of the core pillars of our market at the current moment because most of the solutions we're building are based on software. So being at the forefront to be building interfaces through which people can be able to interact and use the softwares. That's the thing I do on a daily basis, that is building interfaces that like websites, web applications, or mobile applications that enable people to be able to access the softwares solutions that you're building.
Great. And how did you end up becoming an engineer? Is there like a story behind it? Is it something that you always knew you wanted to do, or did you just stumble upon it?
It's more of stumble upon. I won't say like I had the dream of becoming a software engineer, because initially I had plans for agricultural based career, but in my high school, I think someone shaped my future indirectly and gave me the interest to be able to pursue this career.
Okay, that's interesting. But I guess in the career you're in now, in engineering, you can still sort of venture into agriculture in one way or another because of agri-tech and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's why I'm happy being in this career.
Great. Yeah. Yeah, it's very broad. I'm happy to hear that. And Brian, how about you? Is there a moment where you knew that engineering was for you?
Well, I would say I have a short story, that not a fancy one, but yeah, at some point I was curious to know, the first time I was actually seeing computer was when I was in primary school, and the first application I saw was the emailing services, and I was wondering what's behind, the emailing services. What made an email move from your computer to someone else's computer in another, point of the planet? And that's what drove my curiosity. And I think when I was in high school, I had no choice but to take computer studies. Then when I joined campus, that's when I really ventured into programming, or coding rather. And here I am today.
So curiosity drove you to be where you are today.
Exactly.
Lovely. So let me ask you on a bit of a technical side of things. When you're building a system or like a software from scratch, where do you usually start? Like, it feels like when I look at code, I'm like, okay, where do you begin?
Interesting. So actually, it's just the normal software development cycle. So you first start from the problem definition. So, like what we have said, we are building softwares that help shape Africa. And, Africa has its own unique challenges, problems. So the first step before you even start writing code is you have to clearly write or note the software, the problem definition. What are you solving? Then it now goes through the whole cycle from problem definition. I mean, you have the requirement analysis and the likes. That's what drive now your focus to getting the solution up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And actually, Felix, I want to ask you this. When you're building that software, or because you said you also work with websites, applications, all that kind of stuff, what's the hardest part of actually building that software?
The major challenge of building software is problem definition and scoping. So that means because building a software has a formula, just the same way Brian has talked about the ideation phase, problem definition, so feasibility analysis. So we have a framework for building this. So meaning we define the problem, you go and source requirements for this software in regards to the problem you're solving. So if I want to manage my tasks, I need to know how am I going to manage these tasks? How should they be classified? So that's like problem definition, okay? Then now I proceed to the next thing, feasibility. How do I want it to be shown? Is it a mobile application? Is it a web application? Or is it something you just write on a paper? So because we're shifting from paper now to the digital system. So we design an interface that will be able to solve this. So there we draw the objectives of that software. Then from the objectives, now we also do, there's software requirement specification, which is on the side of the user, and there's a system requirement specification. So once you deduce the requirements from the user, then now you convert them now to system requirements, meaning now we interpret the user problem now to system problem, and now we solve it in the technical terms. So from there you can now design, go through the design, build the software, and there's a lot of architecturing going on around it. So we iterate. So once you push through design, now is when you can implement, because you can't, it's easy to design and iterate than implement then iterate. So to save on costs, you design, then you go and implement, you ship. Once you ship, you iterate. When the user is happy, then you keep the product. If the user is not happy, you go back to the design and make the changes. So that's the overall flow around software. That's why if you don't define the problem, then it will be hard to really solve such kind of.
So you essentially can't start building anything until you figure out what the real issue is.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, because you've talked about a lot over there, and it seems like a really big process. Is there something that you've had to learn on the job?
So in the job market, initially, okay, if you hear about the tech founders like Elon Musk, you'll hear they started from a garage. But that's not like the ideal situation we are in currently, because we have bigger teams, okay? So there's the marketing team, there's the development team, there's the product management team. So this means that you want to be the one doing the heavy lifting. So when you get a problem statement, then now you break it down to each and every department. So each department will be responsible for doing what they specialize in. So meaning if I'm a software builder, then I will have to wait on the designer, and the product manager has to define what the product is, what are the goals, push it down to the designer, then designer now the technical side of things. Yeah.
Okay, so it requires a lot of teamwork.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, I hear a lot of engineers are very like lone wolves. Like, you guys don't really interact with each other a lot. So I'm interested in hearing about how you guys work with each other on like a day-to-day basis. Brian, you are the engineering lead for your team.
Yep.
How do you sort of organize your team to get all these things out in time?
All right. I think it takes a bit of human management skills around there, because when I started, I was more of a lone developer. I mean, I could just get all things that I wanted and develop by myself, and get it out there. But when you're working, for example, in a company or something of that sort, you're not always alone. You'll always have front-end dev, you'll always have DevOps, you'll always have somebody doing your backend and the likes. And, as the engineering lead, you want to make sure that there's that synergy and sync between the team, because they're all ensuring that whatever you're working on is going, like, you'll achieve it at the end of the day. So, I mean, it's just a skill on its own, just to manage people, just to ensure that they're on track, delivering what is being needed, and they've understood the scope. So, yeah.
Okay. Tell me what DevOps is, please.
Yeah, I think DevOps usually just deals with the person ensuring that your product is out there. The first step is the software. They develop the software, and after they're done, the software just sits in their computer. But you don't want to end up with your software sitting in your computer.
Yeah.
You want people to use it out there. So the person ensuring that your software actually is out there, it's secured, its uptime is always up, and the likes, is the person we call DevOps.
And front end is different.
Front end is different.
That's like what people see.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there anything, is there a project that maybe you guys worked on that you had a moment where you realized something just wasn't going to work?
Okay, I can't really recall one at the moment, but yeah, there's those situations usually, like, for every software, it's like, how do I say, designing a vehicle or a car. You have all these great ideas, this is our model, this is how we want the engine to work and the likes. Then when you reach the phase for testing, you realize, oh Lord, something is amiss. And, you have to go back and, rethink about how, you're going to make this really solve this problem you are trying to solve at the start. So such situations usually occur for software development.
Does that mean you have to start the whole thing again, or is it like things that you can pick from, like, a
okay, sometimes you have to scratch everything. It's like redefining your problem again. Maybe sometimes you over-engineer things and you realize there are some features you added that are really not needed, and you really have to go back and start redefining things again. But sometimes that's not usually the case. You just remove that small feature that you don't need and replace it, or do it the other way around. So
okay, so it's possible to just switch it up.
Exactly.
Though I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
I know maybe working on like a website or something, you guys want all the things done in time from every side.
Yeah.
So speaking about now a more localized market, the African market that we're speaking about today, are there some realities that you've realized you have to design for in terms of maybe infrastructure or like connectivity issues, maybe legal limitations, anything like that?
Yeah. So I think being now in this field for some time now, we are realizing that first of all, we've been using what is already designed, and maybe they didn't have our problems in mind. So maybe we're using a software from European market or So we realize in that kind of situation, yes, it could be solving, or it's usable, but it's not really solving the problem at hand. I'll give an example of, for example, AI. When AI came and everybody was super excited. Oh, AI can do this. It can, give you responses in real time and everything. But now the big question we're asking ourselves, okay, wow, AI is all good and everything, but does it have, for example, our culture, our languages? Because you realize now the data that was used to train these AI models were not collected from Africa, and that now brings most of the developers or people in this ecosystem back to drawing board, where we have to realize, okay, as much as we are using this AI, but we have to use AI that resembles us, speaks our languages, understands what our perspective of life and everything. So yes, that's I think that's my perspective when it comes to this. I mean, yeah, there are problems that are super specific to the Africans problem, and I'll give you another example of, let's say, M-Pesa. Initially, the technology that's being used to send money in the European market, I can't recall the name right now, but that was not solving African problem, because for us Africans, not everybody uses email. So if you want to embed a payment system to an email, it becomes a challenge. So having a unique solution like M-Pesa send money is quick. It's like real time, like you have it there. So
okay, yeah, that's interesting. And actually, I want to touch on what you've said about like it doesn't have our cultures, it doesn't have our models, it doesn't understand really what our culture is looking like. And so I want to ask this question to now Felix, because you had mentioned that you wanted to do agriculture. Is there a project that you've worked on, or some ideas that maybe you've had that are agriculture specific in the context of, because right now we're in Kenya, so in the context of Kenya, is there anything that you see in the technical world that could help agriculture move in the country?
Okay, in the agricultural space, I think we still have a lot of gap in the implementation of solutions for Africa. If you look at, say, farming in Denmark, most of the things are automated. Maybe if you have a dairy farm, most of the things are just automated. We are using AI to figure out, is this animal healthy? Is it taking the right? Like we are using data to be able to predict outputs from maybe farm animals, or the rate of input versus output in farming. Okay, so if you get to Africa, most of us, we don't really embrace the new technology because we are so much tied to our old ways of doing things. So that means we are lagging behind in as much as, you see, when the introduction of things like pesticides came into place, that means other animals morph and they adapt to the chemicals, right? So this means if now you are not using the chemical approach to handle your farm, meaning you'll be lagging behind, and your crops, if they get attacked, then meaning you don't have immunity on this. So embracing technology to be able to maybe to detect maybe pest, parasites here and there, we have it, but not at scale at the moment. And the major challenge is the reach of people. So this means only the people who have the resources to be able to implement these are the ones that have access to this technology. So how do we get it to the grassroots where people don't have internet? Okay, so those are some of the problems that I feel we can tackle, so that we make technology as available as possible to the general public. So if we can solve that, then we can bridge the gap of production versus AI generated insights to be able to produce more, rather than relying on old ways which are not data driven. Because currently in the current market, data is what matters mostly in terms of production. Even in the job space, you can see it's affecting marketing based on data. If you're doing something to do with e-commerce, you use data generated insights, and being that AI can also be able to process large amounts of data, it facilitates BI, business intelligence. So this really helps us to know how to scale, when to scale, and what to scale on. Yeah.
And you mentioned something like people in Africa don't really embrace the technology. Why do you think that is?
It's more of westernized mentality, in that we will lose our culture, and we are embracing the Western methods. And the main challenge is these technologies don't know our cultures. So that's why it's not easy to integrate them. You see, industrialization really took up in the Western side long time ago. But for us, being that we are labeled as third world, that means now is when we're experiencing industrialization. But the pace at which you're experiencing it is the Western people have advanced, but with us is when industrialization is taking effect, and we have to adapt to cope with whatever is already up there. So we are trying to match people who have already gone ahead with us just picking up from the ground at the moment. Yeah.
So you think we should start from where we are and instead of trying to match where someone else is?
So the solutions that we are now building should fast track us to be able to match them.
Where they are.
Yeah.
Do you think that we need to be where they are, or can we just be where we are, like in an African context?
I don't think if we should be where we are, because this is now what brings the dependency on the Western market. If we are relying on data centers in the US soil and something happens, okay, they can easily shut down access to those resources. Okay, so if we have our own solutions in the African market, we have our data centers, data sets hosted within the African continent, then that means we control our data. Okay, and one primary thing that if someone controls your data, that means they control your narrative. Okay, so if we are able to have something that they don't have, then we can do more because of the lack of knowledge they have on what we have. Okay, I think for something to happen, okay, if you're competing markets and one seller does more, that means that he knows something that the other does not know. Okay, so that's your selling point. That's the weakness you are exploiting. So I think we really need to know how to implement those kind of features and solutions to be able to fit into our African context so that we can also beat them out there. Yeah.
Interesting. Brian, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, on whether you think Africa or Kenya or Nigeria or, just us as a continent, whether you think we have the infrastructure to do what Felix is saying.
Wow. Okay. Now that's I think that's one of the bottlenecks we're facing as a continent. I mean, we realize that a lot of these infrastructures are not being produced within the African context, and I think that's one of the things that governments really need to help us find solutions on, because they're the one who controls resources. They're the ones who have, the mandate to help us produce this kind of resources needed. So for now, that's a dependency that we'll have to deal with now for a while before we really come to the point of we are the one owning our own infrastructure and the likes. But yeah, that's a challenge we are facing as a continent.
So are there things that you have to source from outside to build your systems, and do they affect how the systems turn out? Yeah,
definitely. For example, access to like this huge infrastructure that can sustain data centers and the likes, the things that we are still I can say almost 100% dependent on the Western countries. So such kind of huge infrastructure. I mean, even the infrastructure to train our models, for example, it's a challenge, and you have to depend either on like some infrastructure sitting in Germany or something to train your models and the likes, and so that's a challenge, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
And can we build those infrastructures here?
We can, but it needs what I would say all hands on deck. It needs governments, it needs institutions, it needs all these people in this in this space. So it's not a one-man effort. So that's what I'm saying. It may take a while for us to come to the point where now we're owning our own infrastructure.
And are there systems or things that you have to source from outside to do your work, and how does it affect the things that you produce?
It's just the same infrastructure we're talking about here, because I'll give you an example of if I want to train a model or model on maybe my custom data set or something of that sort. Having that huge infrastructure to train a model even for even 1 month is a problem, and I have to entirely depend on what is available in the Western markets. So I have to maybe ping a remote how do I call it? I have to ping a remote server somewhere, load it with my data set and have my workloads, run on a remote server that I don't even know where it is, So I think that's a challenge we're facing right now, and we really have to find a way of solving it out.
Yeah. And do you think that engineers are often overlooked by governments for getting these things done?
Okay, I'm thinking right now, depending on these conversations that happen, we're really pushing, that kind of talks within the governments. I think it's been a while since we really had, engineers really represented in the government structure. And I think that's one of the failures we're having or we're facing. I'll give an example of Kenya. In this, most of the conversations that I walk into and the likes, you could find that there are no a lot of government representatives in that kind of engineering talks. This is the kind of direction we want to take as the engineering community in this given country, and I think that's a challenge.
Do you think we should have an engineering department in the government?
Definitely, if you want to get somewhere. It's either, we have someone in the engineering team as part of government representative, pushing these kind of, directions or talks within the government structures. This is where we think needs to be done in the country to make us, have another level of engineering within the country. Yeah.
So, okay, this is interesting because we've talked a lot about the infrastructure and how we don't have it and how we're really struggling to get, engineers recognized. Is there anything in the African market that has been innovated or built that people elsewhere may not realize or that has helped you in your work, Felix?
Okay, maybe if I can elaborate more on the infrastructure bit, then I come back to the question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so what do you understand by infrastructure that we are talking about now? So this includes the servers. When you hear about cloud computing, these are now just the servers hosted somewhere and we can access them via the cloud. This means that they are hosted somewhere. So meaning we currently we don't produce RAMs, we don't produce storage engines.
I'm going to stop you right there, sorry. Define for me RAMs.
So, okay. RAM is a random access memory, so it's a unit of memory that computer uses in processing of instructions. Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
Okay, so RAM is really essential and it's one of the most expensive components of a computer currently. And we also have the GPUs. These are now the ones dedicated to graphics, and we are also using them in the AI space for training because they have higher processing compute as compared to the normal RAM. So being that we are not able to produce this is a bottleneck. And also in regards to power, you'll find that maybe a country is still importing power from another country. So
power?
Yeah. Even Kenya is importing from Uganda. So this means if we are rationing, then we need to build data centers. You see, we can't really even power our household consumptions. So how can we power data centers? So this means, just the same way Brian has said, we need all the stakeholders to merge and put in the right people in the leadership spot to be able to echo out some of these things that we need to put in place to put it out there. Okay?
So we can't even build our own data centers at this point in time?
Yeah. So we rely on outside market just to bring the solution here. So reliability, if you hear about Nigeria, they talk about they have a lot of power rationing. So meaning it's very unreliable. You can't take your data center there. If you talk about Kenya, almost the same thing. So I think South Africa is one of the countries which is a bit ahead because they have, I think, some data centers. But with us, maybe we can do a in-house cloud. That means that you have your own cloud. You're not relying on the external one. So people are trying to do the hybrid approach, but not at scale, just for their companies. So back to the question of maybe an innovation that has enabled.
Before you answer that, sorry, could we function without our own data centers, or is it like really essential to the growth of the continent?
So we currently are operating without. Okay. So why are data centers influential in this space? So this means if I want to send you to, let's talk about Nairobi and Mombasa, okay? So I have to go through Machakos. Let's say I just go through Machakos, then to Mombasa, right? So if I need to do something, then the resource I want is in Mombasa, okay? So anytime I need to access, I have to go to Mombasa, okay? So that is, let's say that's a data center there, okay? So you go there, do the service, get the service, then come back. But now if I bring it to Machakos, then you see it will just be like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's how essential it is. The time gap between access to a resource. So this means if I have to connect to a remote server in USA, okay, it will take longer time.
Yeah.
But if we bring it to Africa, it takes a shorter time. Yeah.
I see. Okay, that's good. So you can go ahead and answer, like, are there any innovations within the African space?
So I think some of the innovations that have come up are some of the integrations of payments. Africans have really got into the space of payment or the tap conversion. So being able to share money across the globe into our local currencies, I think people have really tapped into that space. I know the fintech is one of the focal points of interaction and trade. But I think that's one of the biggest milestone we have achieved as a continent. But the only challenge I have with our innovations is funding. I think we have a lot of problem with funding. Most people don't view it beyond the local scope. So just getting investors in our local economy is not that easy. But if you find that you pick on a problem and you get to Silicon Valley, you'll really find really good investors who can really help you to put out this product out there. So I think that's one of the most demotivating factors. You can come up with a very grand idea, but no one sees it. Maybe because we don't have the platforms where people go and talk about the innovations they come up with. Yeah, and also the giants. I think some of our tech giants are really pressing on the upcoming technologies that might disrupt their business. So we find instead of collaborating with them, they buy them and kill them. So that's one of the things that has really made some of our products not to really go out there. Yeah.
And actually, funding is something that we'll talk about in our next episode. But thank you for bringing about the fact that we are ahead in fintech, I want to say. And now, just as we get to the sort of the close of the episode, I want us to touch on AI a little bit. You guys use AI in your job, correct?
Yeah.
How do you use it?
Okay, so in the job space, currently we have AI really pushing the limits of how we develop solutions. So I think we were lagging behind in terms of being able to produce software faster. So AI, like currently we have the Cloud Code, Gemini, which are generating code. They make it really easy to prototype And as much as now it's bringing the question of, do we really need some of the jobs that are around, like design, since people are able to prototype very fast and move on. But I still feel we have that the human influence, because we control the aesthetics of some of these things. So how I use it is to prototype very fast, meaning if I need to take out an idea out of my mind, I give it to the AI, it prototypes, I see, I tweak it, then if it fits whatever I want, then I can iterate on that. Okay, so this means I can build more, faster, efficiently. Yeah.
And Brian, I'm going to ask you, do you think that AI is overhyped?
No, I don't think it's overhyped, honestly. I think, in all honesty, AI is like taking 1,000 brains and putting it together. Right? So imagine you have these top engineers all working on one project in one room, 1,000 engineers. I mean, what they're going to produce at the end of the day is, just out of their mind. And that's what AI is. So AI is just some technology that has really been trained on a lot of data. So, I think when it comes to efficiency and how much it can produce, results, I think AI is just out there, to do the work.
I'm going to ask you the famous question. Can AI take over? If you give it enough information, because it's my understanding that it's you guys as engineers who give it the information that it needs.
Yeah.
Can you give it the information to the point where it sort of has a mind of its own?
When it comes, I think the reason why it is called artificial, it is just because it is artificial, So I think in all circumstances, or I don't know how to put this, but artificial can't really supersede the natural. That's my opinion. This is usually, it's a debate people talk about a lot out there, but I think in my own thinking, what I've observed is I don't think artificial can really overtake natural, and I think it's a discussion that we'll put out there and see the reaction. But yeah, to me, I think there's just that thing that God put in your mind that really doesn't exist in AI. So yeah, it can do all these many things, and sometimes we're even shocked. Oh, so AI even knows this kind of information, but it's just because it is. I think AI goes to the limit of how much extensive of data you've fed it. So it's only as good as the data you fed it, the data you've trained the model with, and all those fine tunings and the likes. But beyond that, having that self-reasoning and the likes, it might take another, decade or something to get there. But yeah.
Are there AI models that are trained in an African context?
That's what I think is happening in the space right now. When AI came, we realized that there's a problem. The African data doesn't exist in these AI models. So that brought all these conversations. We need to have our own data sets. We need to train more AI models with our own data sets and the likes. And I think that's what currently is taking place. Yeah.
Okay, good. And Felix, do you think AI is overhyped? And do you think that AI can actually take over?
Overhyped? Yes.
Okay.
Take over? I don't think so. So, I'm viewing it in this context because this is more of a contextual, and you can debate and win either side, okay? So, overhyped, this is now more of the tech giants trying to control the narrative and how the market is swayed. So, this is more on the marketing. So, if I tell you this is able to do this, that the others were not able to do, so investors will move their money to that side. So that's more of market hype, okay? In terms of now coming back to solving problems, AI cannot really understand your problem until you articulate it to it, okay? For now, you are hearing this hype because in the tech space, we are the people who are building this. So we talk about it. That's why we have the news that, oh, AI is doing this, AI is doing that. Okay, but the majority, do we ask the question, do the majority of the public know the capability of AI? Okay, how far has it really reached to even the person who does not have access to internet? Okay. So you find that the bigger majority don't have access to this information or access to these models. We're the ones who are hyping it. But being that we've been building solutions, let's say for instance, if for someone, a child who is playing FIFA, they don't know, they'll just hear a computer is playing, but it's the AI. But it started long ago. I think from maybe 2014 up there, we were already using AI to generate scenes in maybe games, generating enemies like SWOT. Okay, so why were we not seeing that as a problem? Okay, now that it has gotten to our space, that's why now we have the panic. But why are we called engineers? It's because we are the ones who should be able to design solutions, be able to go out there just the way we started by asking the question, how do we build a software? Okay, where do we start? So we are the people who are able to understand this kind of problems that our people are facing, articulate them, but AI now comes to our aid because it can process large amounts of data. Okay, so this means we just feed it because we have the understanding of how it works internally to be able to solve more of these problems. So the takeover, it won't take over. Maybe we are foreseeing AGI, but...
And what is AGI?
So it's more of AI, let me just, in layman terms, it's more of AI having the reasoning, sentient. There's that term. AI is being aware.
Okay.
It's aware of life and it's aware of death. It's aware of the consequences of actions. So just the same way a human can be able to see, oh, if I do this, then this happens. If I threaten you, then you can interpret it as a threat. So if, for instance, you have a robot in your home and you tell it, I'm going to switch off your charger, then it tells you, oh, I know what you want to do. You want to switch me off. So what it does, it takes control. If we have these IoT devices where you have your devices interconnected and you control them via maybe Siri, then Siri takes over the whole house. So when you tell it switch on the lights, it's telling you, no, it's daytime, don't switch on the lights.
Wow. Can that actually happen?
Yeah.
How does that happen? Is it that AI just develops its mind on its own, or is it like an engineer is behind that?
So what happens is, for conversation like the one we're having now, okay, this is not pre-recorded or in whatever way. We are able to generate information on the fly and talk about them. Okay, so these kinds of informations are what are fed into the AI. So meaning you can poison an AI model or you can give it fit data. So if you poison it with the wrong narrative, then that's how it will behave. Okay, if you talk about something like Reddit, you train something on Reddit where people are toxic, that means your AI model will be toxic. If now you ask it something about something which it will try to reference the conversations it has to be able to detect the next thing. Okay, so that's why Brian talked about it's only giving you quality based on the data you use to train it on.
Wow. Okay. I think that AI and AGI is a whole conversation on its own that we definitely need to have. But for now, I'd like us to close the episode. And thank you so much, Brian and Felix, for joining us today. And to our listeners, you've been listening to The African Stack, powered by DataWise Africa. Thank you for tuning in and see you in our next episode.